children about different religions, because I think we should, but that their reasoning mechanisms break down. And I see this in the university that I teach in. I teach students in the final year autism course. And, for example, one of the lectures I give them is about comparing cave art and the autism mind and seeing is it not a modern mind. I have a group of Christian students who sit in the front row who don't believe me. They don't believe that cave art exists. They don't believe that dinosaurs weren't man-made. And however much I say to them this, okay, and I know that this may be rare, and I thought this would be really rare, but these are final year psychology students doing a science degree who don't believe in evolution. And I'm fighting a losing battle.
So how do we deal then with such fundamentalist beliefs? Strike share, go on.
Okay.
But these are legitimate beliefs, aren't they?
Well, they are, but I think we have to go back. I mean, no baby is born a humanist or a Muslim or a Christian. But every baby rapidly acquires a religion for which I don't have a name. I'll call it mummy worship.
Can I just stop you there? Because I didn't, and I'll keep the microphone with you, because we're going to bring another microphone over here. Dr. Barrett, you were telling me earlier on, you're another psychologist, that children are born with spirituality.
Well, not spirituality per se, but the way that their minds naturally develop. This is what's coming out of the recent cognitive science of religion, is that they have a great affinity for belief in the supernatural. It's not an even playing field. It's not that roll the dice, they could become a non-believer or a believer, but they're particularly receptive to belief in some kind of supernatural, and what the cultural environment then is specifies some of the details about that and how it fits into a general worldview.
So there you are.
Well, there we are. There is a predisposition to believe in these things. That says nothing at all about whether they're true, only that there is a predisposition to believe. The point I'm trying to make is that there is this powerful feeling coming from our origins, our experience of being nurtured as babies, which makes us prone to buy in to the ideology we're given. That's why the clip we saw on the TV is child abuse. It's why we, as parents, as citizens, should be hostile to that being done to our children or any children. Let them go and form their own views.
Okay, we've got Mark and Tom. Dad Mark in the uniform. We can see what that uniform is, proudly worn. And Tom, you found Jesus your own way, did you?
Well, yeah, I mean, my parents, of course, they sort of taught me about Christianity, and they sort of showed me a way. But as to whether that, it did affect whether what I chose or not on that, but whether I've been brainwashed or not, I really don't think so, because in my childlike mind, several years ago, I'm only 14 years old, I decided that, yeah, I would be a Christian as a child. But now, in my growing adult mind, I begin to re-question it, and I'm still a Christian today, and I decided that that's what it's going to be for me. Because if I saw something that wasn't a fit, if I saw something that, you know, I'm reading Richard Dawkins' book.
What do you think about it?
I think it's very well written.
Yeah.
And that was a white lie. That was a lie.
You were great.
Was that a bit shady?
That was an event.
Well written, as in,
there's anything he says, I mean, he's such a fantastic scientist, makes such fantastic points. Do you think, hang on, do you at any stage think, maybe he's right, maybe God is a delusion?
I did. I know you find yourself naturally asking yourself these questions, but what Richard has done, what Mr. Dawkins has done in his book, is he's covered himself in all the fronts that he's chosen to fight on. So if there was anything that was going to be, you know, that he was going to get past him, he would stay well clear of it. He wouldn't mention it. He wouldn't go anywhere near it. So I think there are going to be other ways, and there's definitely, I find a lot of reason to believe.
At last, Professor Dawkins meets his match. John, you were wanting to come in over there.
Yeah, it's going back to the thing about Christianity being the hardest thing to teach children at the moment, and I do agree with you on that. And I was raised in the church. I do believe that there is a God, and I have a niece who, my sister and her husband are atheists, and they allowed their children to choose for themselves. Claire, my niece, then she chose to go to a religious-based school and she has a belief system, whereas her brother doesn't. The one thing that I think where the Christians need to fight more and the Muslims need to, in a sense, speak up more about are not the organizations you are representing, but your fundamentalist ends of them. Because none of you speak up and say, what you're doing is brainwashing people, brainwashing children, brainwashing society. You guys need to not fight with these people here. You need to argue with the fundamentalist end of the religious, because they're the ones who are teaching ill to the young people.
Laurence, do you agree with that?
Well, I think that it's very important to leave children to choose for themselves. I think that's absolutely critical.
And Widdecombe, what about what John says about the extremist ends of religion, the brainwashing?
Well, once you start arguing about the extremist ends, you've actually lost the main thrust of the argument, which is religion just for grown-ups? The answer's got to be patently obviously no. If you're bringing a child up in a family, which is a Christian family, or whatever sort of family it may be, the child is part of that family. You can't divorce it from something as strong as the faith that is practiced within that family. I mean, I think that is a perfect nonsense.
But you can't tell me that all those children in that film were standing up there on their own free will. You really can't.
You deliberately didn't hear the first part of what I've said, which was that if all you do is simply concentrate this argument around a minority like that, you're missing the main part of the argument, which is that, of course, a child being brought up in a family is going to be brought up within the values of that family. It's inevitable.
Isn't the main problem certainty? Giving that child certainty.
I'm delighted that I was given certainty, because when I did start to question later, I had a basis from which to question. I wasn't just operating in a fog.
Yeah, I can't defend what was happening in that film, but no child is born into a vacuum, as we've been saying.
Exactly.
And now that truth's been mentioned over here, I think Christian parents, most Christian parents I know, share their faith with their kids from a standpoint of the truth.
And morality, too.
And their values and morality and what Christians believe to be the truth is passed on.
But the truth, your truth, is not somebody else's truth.
Exactly.
And doesn't the danger come when you say, this is the truth, and what you believe
the truth claims
is
about
baloney?
Jesus,
The problem is, Nicky, is that for 1700 years in Western Europe, the church has sought to control, and it sought to impose its views. Now, I want to bring my kids up and say, this is what I believe to be the truth, but you need to be aware that other people disagree with me. Now, the church is reluctant, and this is why there's a difficulty over the problem with just tackling them fundamentalists. I don't just think it's the fundamentalists. There is an ingrained history in Christianity it wanted to control. The doctrine of original sin has been responsible for an awful lot of child abuse down the centuries, treating children as fundamentally bad, and they need to be beaten into shape, essentially. And that was what the church has held in certain sections for many, many years. This has been mainstream Christianity. Now, you can't just say it's the fundamentalist issue. It is an issue culturally with the whole of Christianity. We need to, yes, assert what we believe to be true, but also let the children know of the abuses that have gone on, of the people that disagree, and allow them to come to their conclusions. I don't think they're ever too young to assimilate.
And Lord Carey, we've got over 30 seconds, as a final thought, it's all about giving a child an inquiring, open mind.
Yes, it is, but also remember that faith is not simply about ideas, it's about a way of life. And when we bring kids up as Christians, they join a moral community, and they're going to test that morality as they grow up, and they're going to rightfully reject it if it is brainwashing. And like this young boy said earlier, he's testing and thinking his way through Richard's book. That's fine. But there's another form of indoctrination going on the other way. And what we have to do to create an open society where faith is valued for what it is, where Christians can be free, and all of us debate in the way we've been doing this morning.
Well, thank you all so much. And I wonder what people are thinking.
Nicky, lots of stuff on this. Gabe says that he will raise his children with what he puts here as a strong Christian fist. He says, why shouldn't he? It taught him to respect authority, his elders and his community. Jackie, though, says she was raised by atheists. She says that she's a good person, she doesn't do any harm to anybody, and for her, this has got nothing to do with religion. Tim is 15. He says he's got a deep spiritual belief, so it's not just for grown-ups. And Stark says children don't have the ability to decide what's right or wrong when they're young, so you need religion for that. Leroy says it's child abuse, teaching religion to some children, and he cites the example of circumcision for children. The debate continues on the message board, where you can access via our website, and you can also apply there to be in the audience too.
Well, next week it's the start of Advent, so we're not going to be here for 4 weeks. We'll be back on December the 30th from London, but from our excellent panel and our excellent guests, John Barrowman, Sonia, myself, thanks for watching, and goodbye.